You know what socialist chief nursing officers really hate? They hate the ethical nurse. They hate the ethical nurse. I mean, they can tolerate it. And again, I'm talking about the top level. I'm talking about like your Jesuits and the ones that are all tied to the sororities and the associations, like all the things wrong in the world because, it's all under one umbrella. But they really hate the ethical nurse. The only time they're accepting of it and want to pride themselves is if it's somebody in their group, but usually their group has been trained by just their socialist agenda. So as I said before, a socialist it doesn't matter what they have to do, it doesn't matter who they have to hurt. If you're a nurse and you're a chief nursing officer and you want to go after a nurse who's ethical, who's a good nurse, who's a first-time nurse, and make up the most horrendous lie, the most, damaging lie to do to anybody. And it's a lie, and then, you get called out on it, and then you try to backtrack and manipulate a patient so that you can try to cover your lie, and that didn't work. In a just world, if that happened, if we lived in a just world, that bitch would have never been a nurse again. But we don't live in a just world. But I've seen these chief nursing officers, and, they always come from the association, or they're tied to the Jesuits or the Catholic associations. Yeah, I'm going to show that in a minute. Everything leads back to Rome, as usual. But I've seen chief nursing officers change Pyxis account. A Pyxis is what we keep all the meds in. It's locked system, electronically locked. And, there's certain people in the higher positions, like chief nursing officers, but also, nurse educators that have no business being in a Pyxis, but then all of a sudden they're in it and you're wondering why they're in it as you're watching them, through the window. Like, what are they doing? They don't have a patient load. And then at the end of the day, you're said that your count is off. Oh, okay. But that's not true because that's the same nurse educator that was at the previous job where she was a manager. She was like under the chief nursing officer that tried to manipulate the patient. So what a psychopath she is. That's what comes out of these fraternities, these sororities, and these Jesuits. And it does all actually lead back to Rome. I'm going to show in a minute because I think I've said for a while now that Roman Empire, everybody says it fell. No, it just created itself to be the church, the Catholic Church, and went on doing its nasty stuff. But it had specific goals, and I'm going to show what one of those is, especially tied to my profession. What do you know? But I said yesterday that the first president of the American Nurses Association was a woman that spent 2 years in Rome at St. Paul's. It was some, training program for nursing. And then she went on to, be like the superintendent of nurses for a short time, and then became the first president of American Nurses Association that then went on to create International Nurse Council. This was all in like 1909. American Nurses Association being created in the late 1800s. So see, these nurses, I'm not talking about their members. I'm talking about the people that had the place up and all their ties that all their tentacles go to. See, those nurses that get into those chief leadership, they're meant to get into those because they will do the nastiest stuff to ethical nurses. I think really it's because, they realize that's a real nurse and they're not. They just play one. And there's too many of them. There's too many of them. That's what your hospital the top of your hospital, they like to get those ones that are willing to lie. that are willing to do whatever it takes because they're all on board with the socialist, communist, globalist agenda. But it all goes back to the good old Holy See. So this is like a timeline, but you can see what started out as the Nurses Guild in Boston, Massachusetts in 1909. Interesting. Then became the International Catholic Nurses Foundation meeting in 1933 and 35. And then in the yellow, the Nursing Apostolate, Pius XI, 1935 address to nurses in Rome. Jumping down to the bold, His Holiness Pope Pius XI told the assembly that it was the duty of every Catholic nurse to belong to Catholic associations of nurses and to promote them in every possible way. Oh. I wonder, was the Pope being divine guided? I bet Jesus was guiding him, huh? I'm just, why would the Pope be so involved in creating nursing associations? Seems a little odd. But let's read on. And jumping to furthermore, modern theories seek to penetrate the minds of the Catholic nurses and to make them become unconsciously strong agents for the propagation of eugenics and neo-Malthusianism. It is necessary then to protect them by means of Catholic action, which has for one of its duties to sustain and fortify them in their professional and Christian formation. It is most desirable, Your Excellency, that the Catholic nurses of the United States be gathered into one national association under the direction of the respective ordinaries of the hierarchy, in keeping with that wish manifested in the words of His Holiness, that the archbishops and bishops should organize local associations of Catholic nurses according to the needs of their respective dioceses, which in due time, under the guidance of the hierarchy, might be united to create a national federation of Catholic nurses. This was such a mission for him and his bishops. Catholic nurses within the influence of Catholic Association of Nurses. That's an interesting way to put it. And requested, in accordance with this wish of the Holy Father. Yeah, right there, they don't know the Bible. Like, it was okay to call your dad Father. When Jesus said that about you call no man here on earth, he meant these charlatans. It is most desirable, Your Excellency, that the Catholic nurses of the United States be gathered under one association of the respective ordinaries of hierarchy. So create one organization after another, group them together worldwide, internationally, and then they're tied also to American Nurses Association because the first president from there came out of Rome's training. And then you have a communist system, the very type that the Roman Empire, the type Roman Empire that, nailed Jesus to a cross, that kind of communist system. 1954, Cardinal Stritch launched the new Chicago Local Council, CCNAC, Council of Catholic Nurses Archdiocese of Chicago, combining 3 separate Catholic nurse groups that existed in Chicago. Yeah, they even wanted lay associate. Let's keep forming into one big monopoly. Socialism all over it. And then what's interesting, I'm just showing this. I'm not going to read this. I'm going to go down to this paragraph. But see the date, or the year, it's August 1935. Just remember, that's the year, 1935, as I jump down to this last paragraph. In any event, we implore Almighty God to prosper the efforts of those clear-eyed men who understand the claims of social justice and of the nation's true weal, the men who are doing their utmost for peace. Social justice, 1935, coming right out of the Pope's mouth himself. But it wasn't just that one Pope. It went on to be reiterated by their predecessors. And of course, who they worship under these associations, Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception.